High Noon shows up and we're able to give them hope. And that, to me, that is just so amazing when you're able to give people hope that your dreams and your hopes, the beautiful ideal that you once thought was possible is still
Mm.
possible. It's still within reach. And no matter what you've done, God loves you and God wants you to be your best. And your ancestors and your
Mm.
parents and your family love you dearly. And they only want you to be successful and to be happy and to create a beautiful blessing so you can be happy.
Una vida sin sombras es un espacio pensado para la comunidad unificacionista, en donde aprendemos a tener conversaciones más allá de los miedos, las vergüenzas o inseguridades, dando lugar a la autocrítica y permitiendo las expresiones vulnerables. Compartimos testimonios y reflexiones sobre sexualidad, crecimiento personal, desarrollo espiritual y profundizamos sobre las distintas etapas de la vida, las relaciones humanas, sus características y desafíos. Una iniciativa de Hainun Latinoamérica. Hainun Latinoamérica.
Okay. All right. So, hi everyone. I'm here with Uncle Dave, David Wolfenberger. He's actually, him and his wife are the founders of High Noon. And so maybe I just want to start off, maybe just could you introduce yourself a little bit, Uncle Dave? Maybe when were you blessed and anything else you want to share with us?
Sure, Melissa. Yeah. Mitzi and I were blessed in 1982 in Madison Square Garden. So we have been blessed now 41 years. And we live in the Northwest part of America. It's a little fishing town about halfway between Seattle and Portland on the coast. We've had a crab business here for the past 35 years, probably longer than most of you have been alive.
Wow, crazy.
It is crazy, yeah. Uh,
Interesting.
and actually now we're just beginning the busiest part of our crab season. And
Mm.
we have 10-second Jen staying here, my son and 9 others staying at our home, and they work for our business, and they help unload the crab and get them on the trucks and stuff. So yeah, that's and about 10 years ago, Mitsue and I started High Noon. We began High Noon to address the pornography epidemic that we had been seeing.
Hmm. So I guess in that sense, you kind of mentioned a little bit this epidemic, right? Like, what was the motivation behind High Noon? Was there something, maybe in your personal life or something that you experienced that you really felt, no, this is what I need to do?
Right. Yeah. Well, I had my own struggle with pornography and masturbation, and I kept it a secret. I felt if anything knew this thing about me, this deep, dark secret, that my life would be over. Um, so I tried not to give it a lot of thought. I tried not to think about the future. And I just had this overwhelming feeling that I had to hide it. Um,
Mm.
then at a marriage retreat, actually, it was at a marriage retreat that Mitsue and I started. We had a men's breakout, and in that men's breakout, uh, men started talking about the real issues that they were dealing with, and pornography was a huge one. Uh,
Mm.
it was something that everybody had a lot of guilt and shame over, and there really was never a space in our church to be able to open up about this, and there was no support available. So uh, that was the background. And when I after the retreat, we had a meeting of the staff members. There were 3 second-gen couple staff members, staff for the marriage retreat, and they all said that pornography is such a huge problem in our church. So
Mm.
there I was. I thought it was just myself that was struggling. and maybe a few other um, really bad people, And I realized that it wasn't just it's not something that affects only bad people.
Mhm.
It affects good people. It affects our children, our brothers and sisters, even sometimes our parents.
Mhm.
And I felt that if we didn't, nobody, I saw that nobody was doing anything about it. And I felt that if we didn't do something about it, nobody else would for a long time.
Mhm.
So right then, I'm kind of an impulsive type person. If you ask my wife, uh, sometimes it is not so good, and she reins me in. But sometimes I have an impulse to do God's will. I remember
Mhm.
one time Father said, he said, "He who hesitates before the will of God will be claimed by Satan."
Mhm. Mhm.
So I had that impulse, and we immediately acted on it. We put everything we had into it, and we've been going real strong for the past. It's been 9 years. 9 years ago that we started High Noon.
Wow, crazy. Almost
Yeah.
10 years. That's insane. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess, yeah, since you've said it's been 9 years now, I guess there must be so many stories or so many ways, but maybe what are a couple ways that you've seen God really working through High Noon?
Well, definitely, he's. I feel he's bringing our community together, and especially the second gen, because there's this thing that, just like with me, nobody was talking about, but we find that people all over the world are dealing with this. Our members in the UK, our members in South America, in United States, in Africa, in Southeast Asia, Japan, Korea, all over. It's this is something. Sexuality is something universal. God created us all with a sexual organ and with desires and hopes and dreams in that area. And uh, I think that's why Satan has sought. He's seen sex is the place which is his prime target to attack. And so, also something that brings us all together is we all share the same challenges. And I
Mm.
think that when we can tackle those challenges together, we are a lot stronger than if we are left on our own.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Has there been maybe like an example that you can think of where I don't know, you really felt this is why I'm doing this?
Well, yeah, so many testimonies,
There's
Melissa,
so many. Mm-hmm.
just so many people who were on a trajectory of they had lost hope for the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so many. A lot of times when we have in-person events, we allow time for Q&A, and we allow people to give anonymous questions, and we'll get questions like, "I've fallen. Is there any hope for me to get blessed?"
Mm-hmm.
Or people that have been struggling with porn and masturbation for, in many cases, over 10 years, most of their lives sometimes. And they have tried again and again to quit and to develop new habits, and they've been unsuccessful, and they're almost to the point where they've lost hope, or maybe they
Mm-hmm.
had lost hope.
Mm-hmm.
And then High Noon shows up, and we're able to give them hope. And that, to me, that is just so amazing when you're able to give people hope, that your dreams and your hopes, the beautiful ideal that that you once thought was possible is still possible. It's still within reach. And no matter what you've done, God loves you, and God wants you to be your best. And your ancestors and your parents and your family love you dearly, and they only want you to be successful and to be happy and to create a beautiful blessing so you can be happy. So that's those kind of testimonies are what really invigorate me and keep me going. So yeah, that's what inspires me, and gives me hope also um, about our movement and how this True Parents movement, the this holy family community has the hope that can change the world.
Definitely. And I think every time that someone goes through high noon, wherever they're at in their lives, like they're able to somehow grow themselves in some way, whether that's growing closer to God or just growing, who they are as a person, and in preparation, for the blessing. But even once they're already blessed, I recently, here in Latin America, we have Heavenly Intimacy, which I think now in the US is called Radiant, but here it's called Heavenly Intimacy, but in Intimidad Social, like in Spanish and Portuguese. And even for me, it was my first time actually participating as a participant in High Noon, because when I joined High Noon, I joined as a facilitator directly. So I didn't get that, which I love. For me, I feel I had stopped kind of working with not working, but volunteering for High Noon for a while. And when I started again now in Latin America, really what motivated me so much was actually being a facilitator again, because it reminded me why I'm here, right? Like why is High Noon so great? Because when you're just doing when you're not in it, when you don't get to talk to people, when you don't participate in that role, in that sense, it's just, I don't know, it's not as life-giving as when you're there and when you're talking to people and when you're seeing people grow, or when you're seeing people open up, or sometimes like the whole time, like for 4 weeks, so like someone's sharing something very simple, and then all of a sudden they feel like they can open up and they share something so profound. And I don't know, I just feel like that is something I'm really grateful for, just to be able to witness. But then as a participant myself now, in this course, Heavenly Intimacy, it was such a blessing for me and my husband, because we were just blessed 2 years ago now. So it's not like we have, 41 years of experience, but even then we were able to grow so much. And so it made me just realize, wow, this is so important. Like, I wonder what it would be like for my parents to participate in this, if they had this growing up, or with us growing up, right? Being able to have a place to talk about their couple, because sometimes you're not really able to do that, or it happens in, a way where people are just like, oh man, my husband does this, my husband does this. And, it's kind of very, I don't know, very fallen, kind of very like external and usually complaining and negative. And so this was such a good course for me. And I think in my own life,
Melissa, when you first joined High Noon, you were a single woman too.
I was a single woman. Yeah.
So how's that been for you now that you're a blessed couple? How's that been, your experience with High Noon as a blessed couple compared with before?
No, I think it's been really good. To be honest, I feel like High Noon really helped me to be realistic of what goes on in a man's life and in a man's mind, and certain things. Like even my husband and I, we've had like certain issues that have come up, even with like social media and things like that, where had I not understood how enormous and horrible this problem, like this epidemic, right, like you mentioned, of pornography, what it really is, I would have not been prepared to like handle it, or I don't know, because something that this is maybe my next question is, what's High Noon's role in the providence right now, in your parents' providence? What's High Noon's role, and as well as in the future? But I feel like in the providence right now, we don't really have anything that talks about this, right? Even we have a lot of Hyundai, right? And so grateful for the High Noon book, right? The Core of the Universe Center. Yeah, the Core of the Universe. But and that's such a blessing. But before that, it was like there's a lot of True Parents Word about, absolute sex and things like that. But it was in so many different books, so many different places. And so it wasn't really like a clear, okay, no, I want to read this. And so actually before the blessing, my husband and I did a 40-day condition and we read the Core of the Universe together.
Sweet.
Yeah. And I think that was really good for us to just, I don't know, talk about things, because it's very scary to just be like, so how's your experience been with pornography? Like, it's very unnatural, right? Like, when you're just talking to someone, sometimes it can be very unnatural. But what was so great about the book was that it was just very, it's easy to talk about. It's not coming out of nowhere, and then it was just very natural. And because my husband is from Latin America, he did not grow up with, like, we just recorded a video actually about this, where for him growing up, he never talked to his parents about sex. Never, ever. And not only that, but anytime that sex was ever talked about was in his friend group, like with his friends. And it was always, joking and not really heavenly. And so I think being able to have High Noon and being able to share High Noon with him and help him to see, no, actually, you shouldn't be talking just to your friends. They should be talking like, sex is the most heavenly, the heavenly, I don't know, closest to God, right? The place where we can be closest to God and most intimate and most sacred. And so actually, like, you have to, like, I can't wait, but I'm excited to talk to my kids about sex. I'm excited to have these conversations. And so for him, yeah, he's really been in love with High Noon since, he started learning more and more.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the question?
Yeah, so this is kind of like the last question, just to kind of sum everything up. But yeah, what is High Noon's role in the providence right now? What do you feel? But also in the future?
Okay. All right. Well, True Mother wants to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth and in heaven, just like True Father. And her motto is peace starts with me. It's going to be very difficult to create this ideal that we all believe in the kingdom of heaven on earth if we don't have any dignity and integrity, and if we're not living the ideals that we're talking about. And one of the most important areas of this ideal is sexuality. And how we use our sexual organ. True Father said that our sexual organ, like you mentioned, is the core of the universe. And yeah, it's definitely the part of our body that God invested the most of his thought and energy into. And it's we all know how precious it is. I think intuitively we know how precious it is. We don't always act like that, but intuitively we do. It's the part that of our body that we instinctively want to protect, right? If there's any harm coming our way, that's the part that we try to guard. So habitually misusing our sexual organ through masturbating to porn is such a gross violation of our ideals. And that's why we feel so bad, because it's such a pure it's such a pure vision that we have for ourselves. And our sexuality is part of that pure vision. And then when we develop habits that are not in alignment with that, and it leads us to deviate from that vision, then we really feel that we suck. We just feel that we're the worst person. A few weeks ago, I was at a TribeNet call with Damian Dunkley, and he said that True Mother's most important metric is the happiness and well-being of our young people. I found that sexuality is the most important the most important thing for all of our lives, but especially in a young person's life. And when I have been able to speak with young people about sex without judgment, without humiliation or condemnation, and in a really loving way that can help them to grow their integrity, their sexual integrity, and help them to prepare to create a radiant, absolute blessing. Then uh, we have the space to the ability and the capacity to impact somebody's life in a truly extraordinary way. High Noon was not created by a true mother. Okay. And however, I do believe that we're in a peripheral providence
Mm-hmm.
that is in a supporting role. We're here to support the central providence that True Mother is focusing on, which is raising our young people to become divine sons and daughters of God and of our heavenly parent and true parents, and also to help them to create radiant, absolute blessings.
Mm-hmm.
That is just that is so amazing. It's what really motivates us from and I guess you asked like what what was High Noon's role and what is it in the future, I think.
What is it now, but also in the future? Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, good point. Excellent. Excellent. Well, I think we started out as a anti-porn movement, and uh, we did see that pornography, and we do continue to see that pornography is a huge obstacle for so many young people,
Mm-hmm.
even so many blessed couples. And the way I see High Noon is evolving in the future, I think the core of the universe really has propelled us in that direction to focus on uh, absolute sex education.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting. I just got a text today from a young man who he had asked me. He had been blessed last blessing, and he
Mm-hmm.
started his family um, just I think about a month and a half ago. Yeah, about a month and a half ago. And so he asked me, he wanted to meet with me before he started his family, before his first night. And then after his first night, he read about what True Father said about how important it is for a woman's health to experience an orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
And so he really wanted he knew that his wife had not experienced that yet. Um, and this is such a beautiful thing, I think, when young people when they feel freedom to speak with somebody with more experience
Mm-hmm.
about how to please their wives, especially young men, how to please their wives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so anyway, today when I woke up, there was a message on that he texted me, Uncle Dave, uh, she's able to have an orgasm.
Wow.
Yeah, and she cried actually. She
Mm-hmm.
cried, and he was a little bit concerned. Well, what are you crying for? And I she felt the love of God, love of Heavenly Parent and true parents, and she just really felt God's love and hope for them and the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so beautiful. There are some really well-intentioned first generation I've spoken with, my age, 65 years old, who uh, they did not know if their wife had ever achieved an orgasm. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this is so sad because, some of these men, they're not, selfish pigs necessarily. uh,
Mm-hmm.
they are well-meaning husbands who
Mm-hmm.
just never were taught about the mechanics of how to please their wives, and really never were taught how to go about doing that. And it's not something that's easy. But like this young man, he said through, we'd been experimenting for several weeks, and finally we were able to break through, to have a breakthrough. And it just occurs to me, Melissa, like how much this is going to propel our blessed family community. That, as opposed to having blessed couples who where the husband has been being satisfied for years, for decades, maybe, and the wife had not been satisfied. Maybe she's felt used. Maybe she doesn't feel love anymore from her husband. Maybe they've stopped having sex because of that. And the difference between that and having a couple who started out on the right foot, and they know the importance of investing in their marriage, of investing in each other, investing in their love relationship, and they've nurtured it and they've grown it, and they've experimented and fine-tuned it, and it's become something that truly gives both husband and wife energy and vitality. Aju?
Aju.
Huge difference.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah,
I see
I think
that's High Noon's future. Yeah, that High Noon is pioneering that way of really creating radiant, absolute blessings. By the way, that's an acronym of CRAB, creating radiant, absolute blessings. That's what I'm
wow.
about.
Interesting. Combine both areas. Interesting. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, I think even, I feel like in Latin America, we are a little bit behind, I guess, in that sense of the US. I feel that in the US, I mean, just High Noon itself has had it's been around a lot longer and things like that. And here it's just beginning, but even just culturally here, it's so different where people don't talk about sex ever, or if they do, it's very strange because it's a very sexualized culture, but they don't talk about sex, if that makes sense. And so even like the TV, and like I'm in Brazil, and so we have like Carnival, and just the clothes that people are wearing, like it's so like against, I don't know, it's just so different. But then it's so interesting because if anything, like this should be the culture where people are always talking about it, or especially I think even in our own church, how do we protect our brothers and sisters from this kind of content when it's literally on TV? Like I could turn on TV right now and just like flip through the channels and see something, because it's just the culture is very much like, I don't know, people don't wear as many clothes, and so it's very sexualized, but for some reason, like that's lacking a lot. And so, my hope, especially for here in Latin America, is that we can really inherit all of your work, right? All of the High Noon's work, and also True Parents' work as well. Because I remember when I was, your father passed away in 2012, and that's when I had just graduated high school. And I remember like the last couple of years of his life, he would speak, and he would go to Washington, D.C., which is where I'm from. I remember we'd be with, I don't know, like these famous people, and out of nowhere, like she probably just talked about absolute sex. And then like even the guy translating would be like I don't know, kind of like uncomfortable. But for me, I really feel like, that's, if we're working so hard, to create True Parents Providence, like we need to be like True Parents, like we need to, be at a table with our, brothers and sisters and be like, yeah, everyone. So, like how are you guys doing? Like, how's your couple doing? Like talking about these things, and not in a scared, kind of like, oh, secret way, but really like in a beautiful way that we want to help each other and support each other. And so that's really my hope for High Noon Latin America, but also for, the Providence and how High Noon will work here in the future, because it's something that people don't talk about, or when they do, it's very much it's like kind of words, but not really experiences, or not really what's really happening, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. With Father's words and teaching on absolute sex, our church can be the leader, the foremost leader in heavenly sexuality. And people
Mm-hmm.
will notice it. They'll notice that, gosh, the only people that are talking about sex is these people that they're degrading
Mm-hmm.
it. And then there's the Holy Spirit community and True Parents community. They're talking about sex in a heavenly way that brings
Mm-hmm.
dignity to men and women and honors us as God's children. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's really so different. And I think even right now, Chandler is talking so much about how we really need to witness, right? And I think that high noon is actually so interesting. My husband, he drives Uber. And so he always is picking up, random people and having random conversations. And then I don't know why, but he started talking to not brother, but this one young man. And I think he was around 26, 27. And he was telling my husband that he had just, ended his relationship and kind of just like he wanted to leave all of his problems in 2023. And so he was like, no, I'm gonna like change everything. And he was sharing with my husband how like pornography has been such a huge problem in his life for years and years and years. And then my husband's talking, he's like, oh yeah, actually my wife, like she works at this, this organization, and they actually help people, like they have programs and things like that. And then he was like, what, that exists? Like, how is that possible? Like he was so shocked that our church is like offering. I mean, of course it's like not directly under our church, but like we have something to help our members, right? And he's like, that's crazy, like that's so amazing. And so I just, yeah, I really feel that sometimes we don't even understand the value of what we have until we share it with someone who has no idea, or like they're struggling so much. And so anyway, for me, I really felt like, yeah, actually, right now we're really focused on our own, church community, but in the future, this can be a really great witnessing tool. And I think True Parents' hope, right, is that blessed families can really be those examples, not just in words, not just in, oh yeah, okay, we had, an arranged marriage, we got blessed, out of nowhere, but, like we met each other, like my parents met each other 12 hours before the blessing. Like they got blessed like right away. Like it was, a crazy situation. And so instead of just hearing that being like, not just, yeah, we had, our parents, for example, like me and my husband, our parents were involved in our marriage, but more than that, like we're so happy, and not just in pictures and things like that, but in our daily lives, in our sex life, in the way that we treat our fruit in the future, our children, things like that. So yeah.
Yep. Wonderful. Hmm. Yeah, I believe that in the future, our church can even be known as the Great Sex Church
Hmm.
in, in a really heavenly way. And,
Mm-hmm.
people will see that, wow, these blessed couples, they're having their sexual relationship is so something they're so proud of, and they've made it so beautiful, and it's
Mm-hmm.
endeared them to each other, connected them to each other. Uh, and they're able to talk to their children about it,
Mm-hmm.
about sexuality and about challenges they may have. Uh, and there'll be, I think people, when we get this down right, when we get it down, and that's why True Mother's message, peace starts with me, is so important. We need to apply this
Mm-hmm.
to our lives first. We can't just go out and start, teaching like we know it all. And, when we still
Mm-hmm.
got skeletons in our own closet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's, the hope for everyone listening to this podcast, right? Is that, each of us can really become these people that, like they, totally, what is it, like incorporate the five virtues, right? Like, integrity, courage, all the five virtues, but not only that, but we can really through that,
Melissa,
through
you're supposed to know those.
okay, courage, courage, accountability, right? Is that correct? Okay, courage, accountability, integrity. Oh my gosh, it's funny because I just talked to Andrew about this yesterday. Courage,
Okay.
acceptance, integrity,
Honesty.
honesty, and grace.
Yeah, you got it. Okay.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay. It feels like I always think about each one and then I never just say all of them. Like I never, like I'm just, anyway, yeah, my reflections are always on each one. Yeah, but the five virtues, but not only that, but really become people that we ourselves, because I feel like my biggest struggle in my life has been, and I think for all, especially second gen, but I think everyone as a human being is we know what we want, we know who we want to be, but we're not there. And how can we get there? Right. And so like, really being able to, clear these, skeletons in our closet, but also just really being able to get rid of the shame and like the pain that we might have through, our mistakes, but not only just our mistakes, but things that may have happened to us that sometimes, have no, yeah, sometimes things happen to us that we don't really have control over, but sometimes when those things happen, we use it like, oh, I'm not good enough, or this is me, but rather like letting go of that and being like, no, I know who I want to become and I am that person. And so like it takes a while to get there, right, to become who you want to be, but until we get there, right, and then once you've reached that, then you can really help people, because it's hard to help people when you're not practicing, or you're not, the things that you're saying are coming out of thin air, right?
Yeah.
So
And I think that's exactly why High Noon's name, that True Father spoke about high noon. And it's exactly why that is so important, because we all know what we want to be. We know the ideal. It's in divine principle, right? And true parents talk about that ideal, and it's so frustrating. And when we don't live up to that ideal, and we can start really just beating ourselves up, which is not very productive. As a matter of fact, it's anti-productive, and it causes us many times to go back to the same things that led us there in the first place. So, high noon, that concept of of knowing, excuse me, of knowing the ideal and knowing God's ideal and seeing where we're at in relation to that ideal, and then coming back into the ideal without condemnation, receiving grace from God and from others. And we're really trying to build, that's the kind of culture in the high noon culture that we're creating. We're creating a culture that has got grace and integrity. It doesn't mean that some people, I think they're a little bit afraid. Well, if we forgive this problem, this issue, then people are just going to want to do it. Everybody's going to want to do it. But no, that's not how Heavenly Parent works. There are consequences of our actions. True Father spoke about the consequences of misusing your sexual organ. And there's consequences of our action, but God is always there, ready to give us a second chance, ready to give us a third chance, however many chances we need. We will, the providence never went according to plan A in the divine principle. I don't know. I don't know one time when I did, but there's always plan B, plan C, plan XYZ, and if we get to Z, then God will invent a new alphabet.
Exactly.
Because we're always his children. Yeah. We're always his children. Yeah.
No, exactly. I think that's the most important part, is that, God has so much love for us. And I think a lot of times, even in our movement, there's a lot of, shame, but also, we're held to standard. And that's why I think a lot of second gen really struggle. And a lot of, our own friends and family have left the church, right? They've felt that. But ultimately, like, is that really what God wants? And is that really even productive, right? I mean, logically thinking, doesn't make sense that, people, I don't know if God's trying to save the world, that people that he loves so much are turning their backs on him, right? It doesn't make sense. And so I think us as brothers and sisters, the best thing that we can do is really, support one another and really learn how to do that, which is something I really feel like High Noon, once again, is just, such a great asset and tool, because it really teaches us to share our own struggles, but also to support someone else, right? And then, sometimes we're doing really well and sometimes we're not, right? So sometimes we can really support people, but then sometimes we really need to feel that, that grace and that love and that, kind of, okay, it's fine. Like, let's continue. Like, this isn't the end. Like, you're not, you're not dead yet, like you can keep going, right? And to really have that support and that community is really important.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's basically everything. I don't know if you have any other closing remarks or closing words.
No, I'm just so happy that you are there in Latin America, Melissa, and also that we're going to be doing a Latin America tour this summer. That's exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really exciting. I'm so excited. I don't know. I can't wait to meet everyone too, because I'm in Brazil, but Latin America, there's so many countries, right? There's so many different places. And so I'm really excited to actually get to talk to people and meet people. And even through our courses, I know who some people are, like now, but it's going to be really exciting to meet people in person, like actually, get to like hug someone or, be like, I don't know, just doing anything. And even hopefully my husband will go to some places with me, but he's excited to like play soccer with some of the guys and things like that, because that's a really big thing here in Latin America. And so it'll be really nice to just to get to be with one another. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah, we're having we'll have the 24-hour summit sometime in April, and I know last 24-hour summit we had a lot of participation from Latin America. As a matter of fact, a lot of people that are connected with us, they first heard about High Noon through the 24-hour summit. So we'll have that this spring, at least it's spring, and where I'm at in North America. It might be where you are.
Fall. Yeah, it'll be fall for us. Yeah.
And then we'll have the tour in the wintertime, in your winter. So
yeah. But it's still, our winter is almost like your summer, especially for Seattle. It's probably warmer than your summer.
Okay. I won't really, I may not be able to tell the difference. I may not be able to tell I'm in a different place, huh?
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It'll be good.
Okay, great. I'm looking forward to it.
That's good. So thank you so much, Uncle Dave, Uncle David Wolfenberger. Thanks so much for being here with us. We're so grateful. And we just, I hope that we can continue to have some more podcasts, especially before the tour, so that we can already get to know you better. And hopefully maybe next time have your wife as well.
Oh, she'd love to come on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Sweet.
Gracias por escucharnos hasta el final. Esperamos que te haya servido y si es así, compártenos qué fue lo que más te llamó la atención o si tienes alguna idea o sugerencia, contáctanos a través de nuestras redes sociales que puedes encontrar al final de la descripción de cada episodio. ¡Hasta la próxima! ¡Hasta la próxima!